Time for a change of pace. The business news is happening now. Brian Quinn joins me. Brian, you're starting with, of course, the US withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal and the effect that that's likely to have on businesses.
Indeed. US Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin wasting no time, saying that licenses for companies to do business in Iran will be wound down. That's threatening a number of deals between Western companies and Tehran. Erin Ogunke has this report.
It's a decision with more than just diplomatic consequences. Numerous American and European companies are worried President Trump's decision to back out of the Iran nuclear deal will be bad for business. The announcement means any European firms that continue trade with Iran and have operations in the U.S. could be targeted. Trump's decision is expected to impact airline and gas companies in particular. Iran Air had ordered an estimated $20.8 billion worth of passenger planes from Airbus, $17 billion worth of aircraft from Boeing, and French oil company Total had signed an initial $1 billion contract to help develop an Iranian gas field. Airbus and Boeing's licenses to sell aircraft to Iran will be revoked. And if Total wants the project to move forward after sanctions kick in, it will need to obtain a specific sanctions waiver. Trump's announcement also brings bad news for General Electric. A number of its subsidiaries signed contracts worth tens of millions of dollars in the gas and petrochemical sectors. Major European car makers have been monitoring the situation. Peugeot manufacturer PSA, which holds 30% of the market share, has said it hopes the EU will adopt a common position on Iran, independent from Donald Trump's stance. And the hotel industry also risks severe losses. French hotel company Accor, Spanish company Melia Hotels International, or even the Emirati group Rotana Hotels may have to close their establishments in Iran. Meanwhile, EU countries have already begun drafting plans to block the new sanctions.
All right, Brian, time to get a check on the markets. How are they looking today?
The European index is mixed as investors digest that Iran news. Rising oil prices is actually welcome news to the energy sector. London's FTSE 100 up nearly 0.5%. The CAC 40 here in Paris and the Frankfurt DAX on either side of flatline there. Everyone's eye, of course, on the price of crude. Oil prices are at their highest level since 2014, with WTI nearing $71 a barrel. Brent crude closing in on 78. The question now is, will rising oil prices have a knock-on effect in the wider economy? Earlier, we spoke to Dennis Lam, equity analyst at UBS in Hong Kong, about just that.
Secondary impact is certainly whether this is going to impact inflation in the U.S. and whether the Fed is willing to look through the 2% inflation that they have already recently achieved, and whether that is going to tighten monetary policy any further.
All right, time to go to Cuba now, where a major economic development conference on Latin America is underway, Brian.
It's the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean has kicked off its latest meeting in Havana, and Cuba will hold the presidency of the UN-sponsored commission for the next 2 years. New President Miguel Diaz-Canel railed against the ongoing U.S. economic blockade on Cuba. He also pledged to continue economic reforms in his country and the region with the goal of changing a system in which first world countries and the 1% take the lion's share of global wealth. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres seeming to agree, pointing out not only the dangers of climate change to Latin America's economy, but also that of rampant inequality in the global marketplace.
Nos guste o no.
Like it or not, the increase in inequality has become the face of globalization and has generated discontent, intolerance, social instability, especially among our youth.
Right, and finally, for business, since at least the 1950s, we've been waiting for flying cars, and once again, we have a baby step.
Just baby. It always seems to be just a baby step. Uber on Tuesday unveiled its latest prototype for a flying taxi, a vision for the future of transportation that aims to alleviate urban congestion. The electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle is essentially a giant drone, manned for now, but planned for eventually autonomous flying. It can hit speeds of 300 kilometers per hour with a range of 100 kilometers per charge. Uber plans the first demo flights for Los Angeles in 2020 with a goal of commercialized flying taxis in 2023. The company says the vehicles are part of an overall strategy to allow people to go without owning personal cars, which sounds like a good idea to me, Rochelle, as long as everyone doesn't then start owning personal flying cars.
Absolutely. It feels very Minority Report for me. Do you remember that film?
Indeed, yeah.
It does. All right. Thank you, Brian, for our business roundup there. Thanks very much.